Let's talk about how to manage multiple goals at once. When we have a bunch of goals we want to get done, how do we actually tackle that? And that could be multiple goals with our work, like projects, things that we want to get done in our personal lives with, let's say, personal improvement or learning projects. It could be around fitness. Maybe you want to, get better at running, but also get stronger at weightlifting, but also get some skills with certain things. And so there might be multiple things that you want to do. How do we manage all of that? And what I'm going to talk about is a concept called periodization. That is not a new concept. It goes back to the 1950s in Soviet Russia, but it's been applied in fitness. And I don't know that too many people are applying it in other areas besides fitness. And so I'm going to talk about how it's applied in fitness, but how we can apply it to our work goals, how I'm doing it as well, and how we can really apply it to anything where we have multiple kind of competing goals. I'm Leo Babauta, the creator of Zen Habits. Happy to be here with you. This is something that I've been working on in my life for many years now. I've been doing this kind of stuff for 20 years, but lately I've been developing this periodization, stumbling on that word, periodization technique for my work projects. And I really have been finding a lot of power in it. So let's talk about that. First of all, what is periodization? It is taking these kind of multiple goals and creating phases where one goal or one or two goals might be prioritized and other ones might be deprioritized. They're not completely let go necessarily. Some of them might be, but some of them might be in kind of like a lower priority phase. And then in the second phase, maybe you switch, right? So this other goal that was deprioritized becomes prioritized, and this other one goes down. And you might have multiple phases, not just two. So you might have 3, 4, 5 phases, depending on how long you have before you do something. What kind of a period you're talking about, depending on what the goals are and how long they take to do. So let me talk you through a real example for, let's say, a runner. Right? So a runner who's training for, let's say, a marathon. This is someone who's already run a marathon, but they want to run a faster one, right? And so they're like, okay, how do I get faster? Now, you could just go out and run far and fast as much as you can, but what you might notice there is that there's a couple of things that are competing. I want to run far and I want to run fast. It's really hard to train both of those at the same time. Right? If I want to run far, I might want to slow down my speed, my intensity, so that I can run longer. If I go out too fast every time, I'm not going to run as long, right? So I want to train my endurance by slowing down and going longer. But at the same time, just going slow and long is not going to get me to run a faster marathon. I also need to train some speed. But I can't do that at the same time. So maybe I want to run faster runs that are shorter. And when do I do which? And so what a lot of people do in the marathon training example is they will build their base first, their endurance. If you have a good base of endurance, then you can build on that with more intensity, more speed. And so they'll go through a base building phase, and that could be, a 12-week phase. It could be longer, 16, 24 weeks, where you're just building your base, right? Depending on how long you have until your marathon. And so you just run these slow miles. You don't worry about speed so much. And you run these long, slow miles, and you try and actually increase the volume over time. And then at some point, you'd go into phase 2. And phase 2 might be, let me try and add a little bit of speed into there. So I'm still maintaining my base without increasing it. And so I still have some longer runs. I'm still doing a pretty decent volume of miles. But at the same time, I might lower the volume a little bit and increase the intensity a little bit. And so this might be a next phase where we're increasing intensity. And then we might even have even more intensity in phase 3. And then we kind of taper our volume while keeping some intensity for the last couple of weeks before the marathon. And so you can see here there's going to be phases that has us get to the marathon day rested because we had a taper where we didn't do as much, but still with a good base of endurance. And we've been training our speed intensity, and so we actually can go farther. Now, for a marathon, you might not do sprints. You might do repeats of 800, 2 laps, right? So 2 laps around the track, and then walk, and then 2 laps, walk, 2 laps, walk, and you're doing those kinds of things, or longer, right? Maybe you do mile repeats, so 4 laps, and you do faster pace for those kind of repeats. But those are examples of speed work for marathoners. There might be longer ones as well, but they can't you can't do those and have high mileage and be running really long runs. So we want to prioritize them. So that is me walking you through periodization for running, but we can do that for weightlifting. Maybe we have different goals there. I want to like get strong so I can lift heavy, but maybe I also want to have power so I can explode. Maybe I want to build my muscles bigger as opposed to just strong, right? So that would be hypertrophy. And so we might have different phases for that. Or maybe I want to focus on, getting really strong with my legs, so squat kind of phase. And then I want to later do, focus on more upper body stuff or something else, right? So that would be, through weight training. But let me tell you a real world example in my life where actually it's not just weight training, it's not just running. I decided I have way too many goals for fitness and I needed to kind of organize them in a periodized way. And so I listed all of my goals. I want to get stronger. I want to get leaner, which means reducing calories. I want to be able to run a little bit faster because my running has dropped down. My running fitness has dropped down. I want to just have a good cardio, you know, uh, fitness level. I want to do some skills like handstands and a few others. Um, Handstands, muscle ups. These are more, they're strength, but they're also skill based things that I need to practice. Um, and I also want to just generally be active, have good steps, do some yoga. I love playing basketball, so I'd like to do that a couple times a week. And so those are all my goals. And there's actually probably more in there. There's other skills that I mentioned. And so I had to say, like, how do I prioritize it? And so what I decided to do was prioritize getting lean while also working on handstand and a little bit of running. So kind of just building the base of running. So those are my secondary goals, handstand and running. My first one is getting lean. What that means is be on a caloric deficit while eating high protein. So that's nutrition. But for workouts, what that means is um, lifting weights. So I lift weights um, so that I can preserve muscle while being in a caloric deficit and high protein. And what that means is I'm going to lose fat. And it might take me, the phase that I'm in right now is going to be about 12 more weeks, maybe less. But I'm going to do that for about 12 weeks. And during that phase one, my secondary priorities is work on the handstand skill while stretching also and doing some kind of running, just a little bit light. So those are my kind of secondary skills. In phase two, I'm going to increase my calories, still do the weights. I'm trying to like build while increasing my running mileage and then adding in muscle ups and continuing with the handstand and stretching. Those will still be lower priorities. And then, phase three, I'm going to prioritize running. And so you can see here, I changed my priorities. And it also, in this case, changed my nutrition goals per phase. Um, but I can't do all of those at once. You can't lower your calories and build muscle and run a lot. That is basically that is a recipe for getting injured and burned out. So I can't do that, and so I had to prioritize. And so I made a plan for myself with 3 different phases. Now, beyond that, I'm going to make another plan. But for now, I have my marching orders. So that's around fitness with multiple fitness goals in different sports. Now, we can then take that same idea and apply it to work. So let me give you a real world example. I have multiple goals. I am, I have multiple types of content like YouTube and, my email newsletter and blog posts that I'm creating. I'm writing a book as well called Zen of Doing. It's on my Substack, zenofdoing.substack.com. So I do those every week. Videos one week, writing the next. And I kind of do that. And that's kind of something that is just a non-negotiable for me. But at the same time, I'm finishing my current Fearless Mastery set of cohorts, Fearless Mastery Productivity, Creators, and Business. And I'm going to create a new launch for the next round of Fearless Mastery. You're also invited, by the way. Come to Fearless Mastery. It's the best thing that I offer. And at the same time, I want to create a retreat, and I'm creating a new version of my membership program called Zen Habits Daily. And so I've got all of these things and a couple other apps that I'm making. And so I said, how do I take all of this and manage it? And so what I had to do was create phases. I created 3 monthly phases, May, June, and July. And I made priorities for this phase. Here's my top priority and some sub priorities. For this phase, same thing. And for that phase, same thing. And then even within that month, I have a week by week set of focus. I can't focus on all of those at the same time. So I said, right now I'm focused on planning for the Fearless Mastery launch. Next week, it's creating Zen Habits Daily, the membership program. And then after that, and so forth. But at the same time, I have to maintain my content creation and I have to keep going with the cohorts and so forth. And so I periodize my goals. And what that means for you is you need to look at what are your competing goals. You can't do all of them at the same time. It doesn't have to be a month by month plan. Maybe you do it by seasons, right? In spring, I want to do this. Summer, I want to do this. Fall, I want to do that. And you might have priorities for each season or each month, each phase. So top priority and medium ones. And what you want to look at are these priorities competing with each other? Can they coexist? With the example of, being in a caloric deficit while trying to build muscle and trying to run as fast as possible, those compete with each other. They can't actually be done at the same time safely. And so you have to look like, can they compete with each other? What I also did, by the way, is once I made my priorities by phases, I also looked at when am I going to do those, right? And so I actually created a block in the morning, 2-hour block, where I focus on my top priority for that week. Maybe it's 2 top priorities for the week. And so maybe Monday and Tuesday do priority 1, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, priority 2. But I have a block where I focus on my top priority. And then later in the day, I do administrative stuff, calls, and maybe a second priority for that day. And then I do my workout. And so I had to kind of think about how am I going to use my day in a way that will be able to support these priorities. And so I encourage you to do the same thing. Once you have phases with priorities for each phase, where are you going to slot those in? When will you do priority 1 for each week? It doesn't have to be in the morning. It could be in the evening. It could be in the middle of the day. For me, mornings are when I have the best amount of focus and energy. The day hasn't gotten crazy. I'm not feeling pulled in a million directions. I can clear that space, calm myself, protect it, and really give my full focus. And then once I've done that, the rest of the day is so doable because I can just go through, do my calls, do my administrative stuff, answer emails, do my second priority task, and life is kind of on easy mode after I do that 2-hour block of my top priority. You don't have to do it that way, but that's what's working for me. I just wanted to share with you. The thing I would encourage for you, though, is to make a list of your goals. Maybe they're fitness goals, maybe they're personal goals, maybe they're work goals. Make a list. What do you want to prioritize first? What's most important? What's second most? What's third? And then how do you periodize that over a course of months. How many months do you want to do that for? And then just kind of set the plan and take it as marching orders. And what happens then is magic, because stuff starts to happen. That's what I've got for you today. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you have some thoughts on this. I also would love for you to subscribe for more content. We're trying to build this community here on YouTube, and I've loved the people who've subscribed. And I really am committed to creating more great content for you every week. So subscribe, share this with others, and also give this a thumbs up if you liked it, because it then will help others to find this video within the YouTube algorithm.